Yo! Video games.
It's got Eggman's face on the VMU.
Select a memory card.
I don't want to select a memory card. How about no memory card?
Select
There we go.
Let's get him!
Let's get him! Station Square, Adventure Field. You know, no matter how much I crap on Sonic, and boy do I crap on modern Sonic, there's one thing that can't be denied. No matter what happens, Sonic will be blessed with a banging soundtrack. Almost always.
Yeah!
Almost.
This is happening! Huh? What's up?
What's up? No matter what, Sonic will have cool music. Usually. I don't know about the whole, you know, if the pain away, my blood is good. I don't know about that. I think you guys might have lost the plot a little on that one. Made it just almost. Sonic Chronicles, the Dark Brotherhood.
Ready? Fire! Oh no! Our weapons are useless!
Oh no! Oh no!
Fall back!
I play Secret Rings? I beat Secret Rings.
This could be fun!
Greatest 3D camera in the world! Yeah! Oh my god!
Hey, I'll play with you some other time!
Hey, I'll play this some other time! Sonic does more damage than bullets. He sure does. It was mind-blowing in 99. Yeah, pretty, yeah.
You big drip!
In the first level, though, when you get to that first level, then the mines were starting to blow. Blow chunks, as it were.
Welcome back to the stage of history.
You know nothing, fool! It's Chaos, the god of destruction!
Rock, 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 rock. What 3D Sonic game I enjoyed? Colors, Generations when I wasn't doing fetch quests or like e-quests.
What? Tails? Watch out! You're gonna crash!
Ah!
Have like a time attack mode or something?
I think so.
Yeah.
Something to that.
We should try to time attack the first level. See who's the most expert 3D Sonic
What
player.
am I gonna do with
Ugh. It sounds like you win. How's it looking? How's it feeling, chat? How are we feeling, Mr. Krabs? Oh, look at this exploration. You can talk to the pool girls. What?
I didn't
Am I
do it.
controlling that? Am I sit? It's in my pocket. I forgot. Sorry, chat. Our TV remote's going crazy. I'm about to die. Just Cleve, thank you.
Mr. Sonic, please go see if you can save him.
Mr. Sonic. Never call me that. Oh my god, his arms. Looks like some creature from Dead Space.
Oh god. Cut the limbs!
Cut the limbs! Sonic is my dad. Mr. Sonic is my dad. Is it too bright for you, Chad? Chad, is it too bright for you?
What?
Yeah, it's really bright on Chad's end. Hold on a second. Here, let's do some Dreamcast and give me that controller really quick. I'm gonna see if I can. Yeah, it's funny because on our TV it's like a little dim, and on this thing it's a little bright. How would we die? Advanced. Better? Oh. Hold on a second. Much better, yeah. I figured as much. On our screen, it's like not as bright. Okay, I'll fix it. Let's fix it. That's the problem with OLEDs, man. OLEDs only get so bright. It looks good for chat, at least. I wonder if it's my OLED not losing some of its brightness over time.
Luminosity or whatever?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it'd be weird because we haven't really used this TV that much, all things considered. Like,
yeah.
we really probably only have like a few hundred hours on this television. They made it dark? Shut up, chat. What has it better? What, chat? I actually have a legit question because I actually really enjoy the first level of Sonic Adventure 1. I think it's good.
Yeah, it is.
And then everything after that, I'm like, ugh, I want to stop playing this immediately.
That was pretty much most, if not all of it.
Most Sonic games in general?
No, 80 Sonics in Sonic 1.
What has the better opening level in Sonic? Is it Sonic 1 or Sonic Adventure 2?
2, but 1 was more impactful.
Yes, and more impressive too.
Yeah. 2 has a better opening level, 1 was more impactful.
Yeah, because 2's level...
Holy crap, like graphics are now this.
Yeah. 2 was impressive because of how much variety it had. Like the racing and the running away from the no-fuck truck and all that stuff. Joker, thank you. Yeah, I think I see what you mean. I think I just played it so little in comparison to this one because I played this one like a ton of times at Toys R Us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna crank the brightness. So bad.
Yeah.
That is always so bad.
Yeah, I think back now.
Figure out this. Someone's just playing blind right now.
Yeah, I played this enough.
Shin the Legend, thank you. Why are you playing original hardware? You saw lag? Yes, you saw lag. We are playing on an original Dreamcast. It's a super Dreamcast, so it's been recapped, meaning a lot of the capacitors have been replaced with things that won't blow up over time and eventually kill the system. It is HDMI modded, so it properly does a 1080p scaled up output, native 1080p. And then also has a replacement of the disk drive where it just loads every single game on the Dreamcast that's ever been made. So the nice part is that it should look pretty good, and it's also, original hardware. That's the whole point behind YoVideogames is that the majority of systems we're going to play on are actually original hardware, original controllers.
Yeah.
It's just, tweaked and...
Look how close the load is. Brass.
Oh, it's dangerously close. It's like arm's length.
Yeah.
You would never notice it on a CRT. But you know when I noticed it first? I noticed it in PSO. You know why? I played PSO on my PC, my PC monitor.
Right.
Because I had a VGA box, and I didn't even realize that, I didn't even understand resolution, really.
Yeah.
In, early 2000s. But I did notice that, man, I can see the graphics loading in when you actually watched a game running at 480p. You can actually see the game rendering the image in front of you and it loading it. But on a CRT, you don't see it at all.
Yeah.
It's completely gone.
But I noticed that the skies were Arcadian.
Oh yeah.
It was one of the area, blue over this industrial metal area, so repeated texture, very simple, but you could see it loading it.
Put Ouija, thank you. Yeah, you can really notice it because the close textures, I remember what really impressed me, if you just stop on the grass, it's crazy. The grass texture in this is kind of wild if you just look right at it.
Yeah.
And for the time frame, it was ridiculously high res.
Because there was no You didn't have any definition of grass before. It was just green.
Correct, and yeah, most textures in games were pretty like significantly smaller in size. So the Dreamcast to have like resolution textures, like our perspective before this chat was N64. So if you look at the walls and you can actually see leaves and shit, it was like, whoa. It's not like Zelda where you're looking at the wall and you have to use your imagination.
Yeah.
Jump on panel number 1.
Now I think it looks like a little crude, right? This comes across as a little more crude in comparison. When I think the even blurrier stuff on PlayStation 1 and N64 actually has more charm. Is that weird? Or I think like some of this stuff just comes across as like a funky looking like mod project. You know?
They're kind of like,
exactly.
It's kind of just pop loading in.
Exactly.
It's crisp, but it loads in kind of like.
To me, like a lot of Dreamcast games age super well, but some of these ones with these like super high resolution or higher resolution textures, they look a little funky. It's got a Dreamcast vibe about it. What about GameCube? GameCube was significantly ahead of this, right? Like twice as much visually as this.
Hey, Sonic! Long time no see, huh?
I'm just glad you're okay.
I wanna fly!
What happened anyway?
They just shove so much budget into this shit, especially Sonic's face.
That was a test run using a new prototype propulsion system. It's got a few bugs to iron.
RE remakes look amazing on GameCube. They did. Yeah, no, granted, RE remakes look amazing because they are brilliant. You know, the way those games are designed was designed to always look good no matter what year. And I remember, dude, when RE, you were telling me that, like, dude, they're remaking Resident Evil 1. I'm like, remake? What the hell are you talking about? Because that was the first time we ever thought of something being remade.
Remade, yeah.
Like, actually remade. And it came out on, like, Halloween. And we got it, and it was just absolutely.
Remake came out in May, if I remember.
Really? Oh, it was Devil May Cry that came out.
Devil May Cry came out in October.
I always get those mixed up.
I beat that as fast as I could. That was great.
We took GameCube remake, the original system it came out on, and it was absolutely mind blowing. Like we had CRTs back then.
Yeah.
And we did not have HD televisions, and it just looked photorealistic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy is that it still looks good. Like people have even gotten into, because they used an artificial or like an AI upscaler for a lot of like, they used like an HQ2X filter for the older GameCube stuff. Now modders have gone in and taken the original, like the non-upscaled stuff that they did, and they AI upscaled them, and it looks fucking crazy out. It looks really
on the backgrounds.
And like the what AI does to the backgrounds is like that's genuinely shit. What AI I think is really impressive at is filling in the details, and it fucks up sometimes. But my god, dude, like seeing RE1 remake backgrounds like at least 1080p to 4K 2K upscale is insane looking.
Have you seen they've done that with Final Fantasy 9 and Chrono Cross?
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 4K background.
Oh, because of the PC versions.
Yeah, well, there is no PC versions of either of those games.
The Chrono Cross collection didn't come out on PC.
Well, I think the newest one did.
That's what I mean. The newest.
This was done like a couple of years ago.
Oh, this was a while ago.
Like a little bit ago.
Oh, so you're saying it's like an emulator thing?
Sort of. They pull the files out of the ROM.
Yeah.
They ran it through an upscaler.
Yeah, I'm like wondering.
Spit it back at 4K, give them the 4K image for the FMV backgrounds.
Gotcha.
And it looks phenomenal.
That's cool. I'm like wondering what the hell would they run that on, because an emulator could do it, but you couldn't do it on original hardware because it couldn't spit out.
No. They do it on like DuckStation and stuff.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That was the same thing I did when I was replaying classic REs, and I was like playing fan modded upscaled versions. So RE3, RE2, the OG ones looked amazing, like so good. You can actually make out that it was Kobe Bryant, like visually completely in the posters and shit. I think one of them was just a picture of Doc Brown from Back to the Future.
In which game?
In RE2.
RE2.
There's a character in the background on like a poster somewhere, and it's just Doc Brown from Back to the Future. It's like, what the shit?
That's just what they pulled.
In the original, you could not tell at all.
Yeah, it just looked like nothing.
So there was some crazy shit that happened. I don't know if you saw it over the past couple of days. Some guys were pulling some old sample clips, right? Like old CD sampling. Dude.
Was this from Marvel too?
Yeah, and one of them was this lady saying, I'm gonna take you for a ride. I'm gonna take you for a ride. And it's got 3 different like deliveries of the line instead of the one. And it's like, holy shit, this is where they sampled Marvel 2. and they found the CD that it was on it. And guess what they also found? This is the true love for bacon.
and bacon, right?
I was like, this is the true love for bacon all the time. And it's no music, it's just her voice, and it's like, this is wild. Like, holy shit, they found the original samples that came from those OG Capcom sounds. Like, oh, it's so good.
To be fair, Capcom kind of just stole stuff.
Yeah.
They actually had a lawsuit over that.
Yeah,
for
they did.
Most of their PS2.
RE4.
Yeah, RE4 is where they found it, but it was like, oh, they were doing that for like all the games they were making back then.
Yeah, all the games that had textures.
Yeah.
They were just stealing shit.
So hard.
I mean, granted, RE2, we know it now because they just like took pictures from movies they liked and shit, just threw it in like sports characters. Like we know, and yeah, they used to sell. There was this video I watched, like Texture Hunters.
Yeah.
Where they literally find the rock textures and the grass textures used in Mario 64 and what CD they came from. And it came from some default ass software that existed in like 1994 or something. And everybody used it, and it's like this one texture that's in every fucking game at the time because people were just getting used to it. And yeah, going back and finding where was the original texture from is this old ass like Encarta CD or some shit. Like it literally was that, and it's like the basis for the majority of PC games and N64 games and PlayStation.
There was
games.
there's a I don't know if it's a guy or it's a team now. You know how Super NES was based off of sound samples?
Yeah.
Someone figured out what keyboard they were pulling for the samples to make the sounds, and basically was reconstructing whole soundtracks for Super NES games because they take the samples from this keyboard and then they have to like compress the shit out of it, right?
Yeah.
To make it fit into memory. And then this person was finding, okay, what samples were all these Japanese developers using? They figured it out.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, now I know what it is. So then they would meticulously crawl through the library and then figure out what samples are being used for all these different songs. Then recreate the songs by pulling the samples and then recreating the songs.
Timeline.
Yeah, and remaking the timeline. So you could have what's the uncompressed version of Super NES games.
So Chad's saying if you check out MasterBit's Climax 9 Rhapsody Vocals 2, which is the name of the sample disc, he says there's a ton of game stuff on there that you'll recognize.
Yeah.
Like, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's like Metal Gear shit in there. There's probably games from all over the place in there. Mario Kart, like who knows?
Yeah. It's crazy hearing some of that stuff where it's like, this is, like, it doesn't sound different. It's just like, oh, so this is what it was supposed to sound like. Or this is what it sounded like, you know, unsampled or desampled.
Yeah.
They call it desampled SNES stuff.
Essentially reverse engineering the music.
Right. So this is what it actually sounded like when they made it before they had to compress it down to SNES.
Speaking of games with music and shit, is the first level really only one level and that's it?
What?
Wait a minute, I thought there was like a second act or a second part of the first level in this game. Really, it's just like one small map and that's it?
Correct.
Then you go to lag zone. I call this windy lag zone because the frame rate drops like crazy here. I don't know if you were paying attention, but yeah, there's a lot of like quote-unquote leaks or rumors about a Nintendo Direct. And speaking of video games with music, you definitely saw it.
What?
One of them, guy was like talking about a guy that has somewhat of a reputation of like calling stuff from Nintendo, and one of the gifs he posted in relation to the new Nintendo Direct was a specific character. Could you guess what it is? What the gift was?
Oh, Donkey Kong rolling?
Yeah, it was Donkey Kong.
He already confirmed it's in Mario vs. DK.
Head straight up.
March the
You should be able to
Oh,
get
that's
on
bullshit. Nobody gives a shit about that.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a fuck about that.
All right, I'm gonna break.
Everybody, all the other Simmons hearts out there.
Yeah. So here's the other thing. The F-Zero is an F-Zero 99.
Oh my god.
And I guarantee you, it's just the Super NES game. And you're not actually gonna interact with any other racers. You're just gonna be racing a la time trial.
Well,
to see who can get the best time, and like they'll just erase people from the F-Zero from their own personal game if they're slower than the other.
I think it'll likely be based on the SNES version.
It's just going to be the SNES version,
but and
you're basically going to be doing a big time trial VR.
I would like to think that Arika is also doing it because they made all the other ones.
Sure.
And they would probably make it smarter than that because all the other ones were kind of smart. I mean, I don't think they made Mario 35. Or maybe they did.
I think they did.
Yeah, Eureka makes all of them, and they've made all the different versions they made are actually kind of cool. They have some interesting.
I mean, it's cool, but F-Zero's been dead since for like 2005 or something, or 2004.
Sure.
3. I don't know. Nobody I mean, like, yay, F-Zero's coming back, but nobody wants to sit there and like, who's got the best time trial time of the 99 people on the old SNES game?
They have to. I mean, it's a BR. They need to.
And it's going to be like the same 2 or 3 levels.
It's got to have it.
Let me just break this down for you right now. Like, that's what it's going to be.
If it's made by Eureka, I don't think it'll be that way. I think it'll have a gimmick. It'll have something, because those guys have already been kind of smart.
Right, but it's gonna be, you know, you have something you can do to, like, mess up the other person's game, you know, or put an obstacle
that was
on their course.
So you're
not gonna be directly racing these people.
So you're saying it's gonna be like Mario 35.
Right. It's gonna be
where
like
you almost
Mario,
have very little impact on the world around you.
It'll be like Mario 35 for the Super NES version of F-Zero, and Nintendo will be like,
that would be disappointing.
Back.
Because Mario 35 was kind of disappointing in comparison to Pac-Man 99 and Tetris 99.
Mario 35 was cool, but it was easy.
And that's
I got
the
so
idea.
many king dubs in that I didn't even try.
That's the idea, is that it had so little impact on the other players that it just came down to, like, you know, it wasn't actually difficult because you're not fighting other people. In Pac-Man, at least you're fighting other people. In Tetris, you definitely are.
Well, it's not. Both of those games are not games that have, like, they don't have, like, the same sort of. It's not the same deal as, like, you want to be racing on a racetrack with the same other people. And you want to be able to, like, bump into them.
Yeah, I want to see.
You want to be racing another person. You don't want to be time trialing.
I mean, that's what I mean. Where it's like Mario, I understand because Mario isn't a versus game. It's just about platforming and hitting your jumps. I get it. But in a racing game, it's literally about you racing an opponent. And time trial, I get it to a certain degree. So I would agree with you 100%. If there is an F-Zero 99 and it doesn't have any actual direct competition, like you and other people racing,
on the
even in like segmented ones, like 8 players here, and then those old people die, and then it moves in the other 8 players somehow, like I don't know, something. If it doesn't do that, then it's crazy disappointing. If it's just about go as fast as you can and that's it.
Yeah, it's going to be
no competition technically.
Yeah, you're basically going to be time trialing it, and then like the person with the best time, like the top 8 people, you know, or like the bottom 8 people in the time trial get erased. And then then it just keeps doing that. Like that lap after every lap or 5 laps is just gonna drop the slowest racers.
I mean, that's fine as long as you're there with 98 other people on a big course.
No. It's gonna be your own individual game, and everyone else will be running their own individual game.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
That would definitely be disappointing. I would hope they wouldn't do that. You would like to think that if they were going to do something like a racing game like F-Zero, that they wouldn't be that daft.
You can go down into the sewer.
That's what I'm expecting.
And I will give Eureka the benefit of the doubt, where they already made several banger 99 games that are actually like, geez, this shit is fun. This is a really cool BR idea. At that point, it'd be like, why don't they just do something else? You know? Why would they do F-Zero then? Like, why wouldn't they just do some other franchise that they can?
Because people are whining about F-Zero, so they're going to give them F-Zero, but it's going to be the most low-effort F-Zero they can possibly give them. Because Nintendo does not want to put any money into it. Because they have Mario Kart 8 to sell, and Mario Kart 8 booster courses to sell. I don't need to be competing with my own amazing selling.
Let's live in a fantasy world. What is the best F-Zero 99?
GX.
So
like it's just F-Zero 35 or F-Zero 40. It's just 40 people on a track.
F-Zero GX 40.
Yeah.
Where you're all the 40 people that are actually, 39 AIs usually are actually humans.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be incredible. That would be, but you know who would have to make that? It wouldn't be Eureka. It'd have to be Sega.
Eureka could do it. Why?
I mean, they could, but I would imagine that that might be a weird deal from like the 2000s where maybe Sega still has the rights to it in some way. Maybe they'd have to like work directly with them.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
I don't know how that, because all those old game deals are fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like, and it's the bigger reason why we don't have remakes. It's likely the reason why we don't have a Tekken collection, a Soul Calibur collection, a Mortal Kombat collection. It's likely the reason why, like, you obviously can make a shit ton of money off this. Why don't you do it? Mostly because, like, oh, well, the ownership of these properties has switched hands so much for like 30 years that it's... Get on the side of the car, please. Your body's sticking out like the side. You know, it's probably something like that. Gone is like one of the reasons. There you go. Stay. Come on. Where are these cars going? This is the first open world game ever. I can't believe it. Everything was shiny. This really does just kind of look like an upscaled N64 game. Yeah, a little bit. Yo, Isaac Murillo, thank you, dude. Oh, they thought of that. Yeah, Monkey Ball 99, that would be pretty cool.
Ready?
Just that many people. Because that's like, you know, that's like the gimmick. You want to see the actions of all these other people like on screen at once in some way, and they came up with a good solution for Tetris and Pac-Man.
Yeah, it'll just be in like a little tiny window on the side. That's how it's gonna go down.
Retro, thank you. We should play Virtual Fire.
TV?
Yeah, we should play VF until Steve and Kenny show up and they start complaining about VF not being Tekken. We should play Virtual
TV
Fire.
is weird.
It is a weird game, but it's fun.
It is.
I saw like another clip somebody posted on that like unhinged fighting game things on Twitter. Yeah. And one was just Kage going, ooh, and just doing this entire motion flip into the water, and then the guy's head hitting a rock out of the water and him floating away. I was like, damn, that shit was brutal. Holy hell.
I want this guy back from the arcade!
Why is PSO2 so lame aesthetically compared to PSO1? That's a good question. That's a really good question. The PSO2 and New Genesis don't look anything like OG PSO. They don't have the classic, they don't have the classic like Sega Sonic Team visuals. Because Sonic Team doesn't really exist much anymore, right?
I mean, it's not the same, you know?
If you want to see like classic Sega visuals, chat, like probably one of the best demonstrations of it, you're about to see it in Yakuza Origins Rebirth, or whatever the heck it is.
Gaiden?
Yeah, Yakuza Gaiden is going to get Daytona USA 2, which will not be called Daytona USA 2, it'll be called Sega Racing Classic 2. And the reason behind that is the Daytona license, and it's also the reason why you'll never say Sega Super GT. So Scud Racer is locked to arcade hardware. Yeah. Because of McLaren and Porsche and Viper and yep.
They could tweak it a little bit. That's been done.
They could. But going in and changing models is kind of wild. For an old game where nobody has expertise on that shit.
Do they look that similar?
Yeah. Oh. Those are those cars. And Ferrari, yeah. And there's also, it's the reason why Outrun games can't get re-released. It's for the fucking Ferrari license. Explain Forza and GT.
Money.
Because those nowadays...
Do you think Sega has the kind of cash that Microsoft and Sony have to throw around?
Because nowadays, a lot of vehicles in games, their depictions have to be like, have to go through a rigorous like accepting process, like an artistic visual process now that is directly connected to like Ferrari and Porsche and all these people. If you release the game like Scud Racer, and they're like, hey, here's the fucking BMW, like the BMW, the McLaren, like all these crazy fucking cars from the 90s, and here's how they look, they're gonna be like, no, make them look better. Why do they look like that? Well, it's an old game. Yeah, but make them look better. Because now everyone's super brand aware.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
That was a problem with GoldenEye for a while, where like the Broccoli, Eon, or whatever, like the family like rights holders were kind of like, we don't want to release an old-looking product. for James Bond.
Oh yeah, so they don't want GoldenEye to be re-released.
Yeah, it was like a big hang-up where they
It has to be, you know, prestigious.
They were like, well, we don't want to release a really old-looking game. You know, it doesn't look good.
Yo, Stampede Superior, thank you.
Is there a shot?
So anyway, like, and that's ultimately like the...
Yeah. Sonic and Steve.
Turn the camera around, look at him.
Oh, yeah!
This was
premium furry bait you want. Ah, yeah.
This was the era of games where I need to flush the toilet.
Yeah.
This was the era of games where everything needs to be interactable in some way, and I need to flush the toilet. I need to shit in the toilet, and I need to flush it. Why did the Dreamcast fail? Because Sega of Japan was borderline stupid. Like, actually lacked a brain. They set themselves up for complete failure ever since the Sega 32X. And the Dreamcast was the final essential nail in the coffin.
God, it's a hard question. They're bleeding money. They were basically out of fucking money. Because of all the dumb decisions, starting with the 32X.
Yeah.
Really starting with the Sega CD, if you want to get.
And to be honest, Dreamcast launch was the biggest console launch of all time when it came out on September 9th, 99. However, that only applied to like US and Europe, and it didn't apply to Japan, where Sega paid attention the most. What weird Dreamcast games can we play, chat? Stuff that we haven't really like looked at before. Is there anything on here we can check out?
Yeah, basically Sega bleeding money. Didn't have, you know, despite how successful the Dreamcast was in North America and Europe, they were too much in debt. And I hate all of you. You were all so sucked into the Sony hype machine. You're like, I'll just wait for the PS2. Because it had a DVD player. I get a DVD player out of it.
Yeah, but we didn't even know that.
That's so super important.
We barely even knew that in 99. DVD was so not even a thing yet until like a year later.
No, but people were waiting for a PS2 because Sony was showing off the PS2 in 99. Like,
was it that early?
The first tech demos, yeah. Because it came out in March 2000 in Japan. Released.
Jesus, it was that close.
Yeah. So, everyone was just riding the Sony hype machine.
And this looks really bad now. Like, it looks like you're in a box. Yeah, PS2 is looming so it could come out with no games.
No games.
Literally no games. You have to wait like a year to get something that was like kind of good on PS2. I remember the first PS2 game that was actually good was Zone of the Enders. I mean, outside of Tekken Tag. Zone of the Enders was like the first big game. And it came with the demo.
First big game that was like unique to the PS2.
Yes.
Tekken Tag looked great.
Yeah, Tekken Tag looked great, but it was like obviously from an arcade game.
Yeah, it'd been an arcade game that had been around.
Street Fighter EX3? You know what? I like EX3 now, but there's no revisionist history that people like the EX games back in the day. They were absolutely shit on constantly.
No, not the Bouncer.
The Bouncer was not it. It was cool. We all played it.
It was cool.
It was cool.
Square Enix is beat 'em up.
Yeah, you can look back now with like some kind of like some new perspective of games and look at the EX series and realize that it was actually really good. But unfortunately, in the 90s, it was 100% Capcom's black sheep shit, where people just didn't care. I was like, I kind of like it, but I didn't like EX3. And why didn't I like it? Just because I didn't like it. You know? You don't have like...
Doesn't feel right.
Doesn't feel right. Final Fantasy X was a bit later. That was like within a year after PS2 came out?
Yeah, a year and some change.
Yeah.
Because it came out December 2001, I believe.
SSX was good, but I don't think it was great. I think it was like a 7 out of 10 game. It was fine, right, when it came out.
It was fine. It got more love because it was a launch game for PS2, and people were looking for any excuse to talk about how great their PS2 was.
I remember SSX being pretty impressive at the time, but I didn't want to play more of it.
It still chaps my ass because, like, and I've done this before, and I will do it again tonight. If I read to you the release schedule of North America of the Dreamcast the second half of 2000 versus what PS2 got at launch.
Oh, it's insane.
It's insanity to me.
Yeah,
it's
like
absolute insanity.
Tons of online games, like all of this wild shit. Yeah,
so
tons of fighting games.
Many good games came out on the Dreamcast in 2000.
Tons of RPGs.
Every week was like an amazing game on the Dreamcast. We were like, man, on my PS2. What was like the first? Well, you and I had the first DVD, but like, what was like one of the most common first DVD movies people
Matrix.
bought? Yeah, I guess Matrix.
The Matrix.
It's like, oh, I can watch my Matrix on my DVD on my PS2. I'm gonna get that down.
Dude, that was why. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I was one of those. I was one of those that had found more value in the PlayStation 2's DVD player than even.
Well, I wouldn't use DVD player first because again, there wasn't a ton of hot games on the system.
Saving Private Ryan was another big DVD at the time. Yeah.
No, piracy had nothing. Piracy had nothing.
Piracy definitely didn't help, but it was not the nail in the coffin. This was like 5 years in the making before the Dreamcast was even out, dude. And the reality of the situation was the Dreamcast was doing fine in some territories, but was bleeding in others.
Yeah.
And Sega was making the worst decisions.
Yeah, they were actually making money in North America. They were actually doing good.
And you can hear it from Bernie Stoller, who was like running Sega USA at the time around the Dreamcast, and him just being completely bewildered by how stupid Sega of Japan was. Like, they wanted to kill the system. It's crazy. Like, if you actually listen to the guy, and he was working his ass off, and the Dreamcast was killing it, right? In the same way that, like, the Genesis was killing it in the US back in the day.
Yeah, Bernie quit right before Dreamcast came out, and then Peter Moore took over.
Oh, no, Peter Moore. I always get those two mixed up.
Well, yeah, because it happened so fast.
Yeah. Peter Moore is the guy that ended up working for Microsoft or EA.
Both.
Yes, yeah. He's the dude with the mustache.
EA, then Microsoft. Yeah.
Yeah, he went to Xbox after that. He's the guy.
No, he's Xbox, then EA.
He was the GTA 4 tattoo guy.
Yep. Yeah, it was. He has my favorite story ever.
He was likely the reason why the Dreamcast had the launch it did, because they made a choice in America to delay the system a ton and to have a huge lineup of games.
Oh, absolutely. I would absolutely say he had a big hand in why Dreamcast did as well as it did in North America. And Bernie to an extent as well, because before launch he was trying to do something to get Sega back, But Peter Moore's big thing was that he knew Sega Sports was a big deal, so he was big on bringing the Sega Sports branding back.
Oh yeah, the 2K series is why that happened.
And I think Bernie talked about how he told Sega, you need a built-in modem, you need a built-in DVD player, and I forget what the other one was.
Yeah, I remember hearing
this. There was
this.
like 3 things, and he said I could only get them to agree to the modem.
Yes, and they essentially settled on online was the focus of the Dreamcast.
And they didn't like. He's like, I don't remember what the third one was. I don't know. It was either something to do with the controller, or it was something to do with backwards compatibility or something. I forget what it was, but he was, according to him, he was saying that I was trying to get them to go in on the DVD player built. As
it was too expensive. It was gonna bump the price to like $300.
Yeah,
which is what the PS2 came out at, right? 300.
300. Yeah, it was 300.
Yeah. So here's the thing I have to give that credit for. KYH, thank you. The Dreamcast sports lineup was actually fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Like I know Simmons didn't play a ton of it, but
it was there. And it was very well regarded.
I was into it, and NFL 2K was like a big deal to me, and as well as NBA 2K, and those games were amazing. Like no sports games had ever been like this shit before. They looked so realistic in comparison to all the others, and that was the big thing of sports games, is people didn't want blitz style anymore. People wanted realism.
Here's the other thing, and again, fuck EA forever, but like Peter Moore was trying to get EA to make games for Dreamcast, and they refused to do it because Sega had a first-party studio. Because they said, we'll release EA said, we'll release Madden and whatever on Dreamcast if you promise us that there will be the exclusive only football, basketball games.
Oh, they were doing the same system. EA stuff they always
And Peter Moore said, I just bought Visual Concepts.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Like,
which was smart. Because
we're gonna have this on there, and they said, well, no deal then.
And I think in the top 10 reviewed games on this system, no shit, like NFL 2K, NFL 2K1, and NFL 2K2 are like the best reviewed games on the system.
Yeah.
Like they're ridiculously high up. So yeah, like, again, sports games have always been Sega's like coup de grace in markets outside of Japan.
Yeah.
And the Dreamcast was no different. It was crazy how good NFL 2K looked. Like, that was such a big game for this system. It has nothing to do with the Dreamcast changing graphics processors mid-development. That was the Saturn. I think you're thinking of the Saturn. Because the Saturn was gonna be a 2D system halfway through development, and then there was changing where there was gonna be 3D, so they added like more 2D chips to make it a mock 3D system. I think that you think of the Sega Saturn.
Yep. Okay. So he's not entirely wrong, because there were actually at the time there were two partnerships that were going to go with the Dreamcast, Dural and Black Belt. There were two separate projects, and one was more handled by the Americans. One was more handled. One idea for the Dreamcast that never got off the ground was they were going to make it a 3DFX based graphics chip.
It's like a voodoo chip?
Yes, like an early voodoo chip. But they didn't go with it. They went with what they went with instead. So it's not entirely, but they didn't switch engines or they didn't switch hardware mid-development. They just never went with it. It was just between one or the other.
The Saturn was the one that they did. Right.
Saturn, it was a hodgepodge because they basically
changed their minds halfway through development.
Yeah, because they with the VDP 1 and 2, where they basically found out what Sony was doing with the PlayStation.
And went, oh shit.
And went, oh fuck, we're betting on the wrong horse here. 3D's definitely going to be the big deal. So it was like this Frankenstein stick another GPU in there.
Yeah, so the crazy thing about the Saturn, chat, which is why it was so hard to emulate the system, and it still is to this day, the Saturn has no 3D graphics chip in it. It has two partnered 2D chips that are relatively powerful and really good at producing 2D graphics, but the way that game renders its 3D imagery is through some crazy hodgepodge of 2D image graphics. It's fucking wild. And a lot of games don't look as good. Like 3D games look better on PlayStation because obviously the PlayStation was meant for 3D. And Saturn couldn't even do shit like transparency. Like they couldn't.
It could,
but people didn't figure it out. It was so convoluted to program games for the system that like a lot of things didn't come out on Saturn that were not 2D because it was just like, this is gonna cost us so much fucking money and it's such a pain in the ass that no, we're not doing it. But some games are obviously like insane. It has some games on Saturn look better than the 3D of PlayStation by a long shot, but it's essentially made from wizards. Like Quake 3 and Virtua Fighter 2. Like some games on the system look even better than anything on PlayStation.
Yeah.
But most games do not because it actually crazy hard. You know what I realized we can do? Because I have like the proper modified ISO on here. I have a version of PSO that's completely designed to go online.
Designed to go? You want to go online?
I think we might, if I just plug in the damn thing to it, I might be able to jump online on PSO. Might just be able to play online. Just go meet somebody for like an ultimate run in Forest or something like that. We might be able to do that. Chad, is anybody online? Has anyone got a Dreamcast has anyone got that thing hooked up to the servers? There's always like 20 or 30 people on. Like always. And I guarantee you, if we go on, we'll find people that are watching the stream. I guarantee you. We don't have to play the whole thing, but we could just like try it. And you get it by like literally like the mod servers, like the fan servers that exist for the game.
Yeah.
That connect to it. They just modified the ISO of PSO to connect to their server. So you don't have to do much. You have to like plug in some data, which I did before. I already did this. You don't need your, well, I mean, yeah, we don't have a dial-up modem. Luckily we have a broadband, but that's not cheap for the Dreamcast. I think they make third-party ones now. Let's try something else. Yeah. Simmons says, I'm done with this fucking game. Double reset to get us back.
Okay.